the founder of the Annoyance and the original director of Splatter Theater.
I'm Jennifer Estlin. I'm the executive producer at the Annoyance, and I did year 2 of Splatter Theater as the Virgin Ellen.
I think the theater opened in 1987, I believe. And Splatter came about because we were eating at a restaurant called Leona's, and we decided that we wanted to put up a blood show through all of the tequila we drank. So we did that, and I spent a month creating Splatter Theater, and it opened on October 10th. A lot of it was like improvising characters, and all the characters are based on horror film tropes, mainly kind of like the Friday the 13th genre. And then I wrote the exposition at the top, which repeats itself 3 times because it was my opinion at the time, and maybe still, that those movies were exposition laden. There were a lot of exposition. So I just blatantly repeated the exposition 3 times to kind of drill in the fact that they do that.
Do you think it would be possible for me to plan and organize a social gathering here this evening so that I may acclimate myself to society and assimilate myself into the senior class of Mayfield High? So that I may acclimate myself to society and assimilate myself into the senior class of Mayfield High? So that I may acclimate myself to society and assimilate myself into the senior class of Mayfield High?
Not much was set in stone. There was a lot of improvisational latitude when it came to filling out the plot of it, if there is one. And I just laid down the beats, and I spent a lot of time letting people improvise those characters. So that within those confines, they were able to find a lot of play and a lot of fun.
I think one of the things that we each handled in our own way was the cabinet. So when people would come out, the little ad-libs that you would say to each character as they were coming out would be different, especially because we would each work with a different cast, so that would change pretty nightly.
Why do we keep funding the police force?
My name is David Rosowski. I believe 1987, so I created the role of Carl in Splatter. The show was a fucking mess. I mean, it was a mess in terms of how messy it was. It wasn't a mess in terms of how it came together, because it came together so quickly, and everybody was so eager to work and to do it and to come in and rehearse, and we were upstairs at a bar. And you can drink, and everybody drank and smoked and fucked, and it was just a great place.
My name is Al Rose, and I was in the original cast in 1987, and I played the lounge singer. I wrote the opening song and came out and sang it in the show. I was watching the process as it was unfolding, and I went up to him and said, "Hey, could I talk to you?" He said, "Yeah, what?" And I said, "I think the show needs a song." And, Mick, you know how he likes to tamp down all ideas. He immediately said, "Sure." I walked on stage with a boombox, and people just thought it was funny. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Run away, run away. They had no expectations. First Annoyance show, there's no expectation, so everything was new and fresh and exciting, and people were just really into it.
My name is Eric Waddell, and I played Dad in the 1987 and 88 versions of Splatter. We decided that we were going to make our own play and kill as many people in about an hour as we could. We weren't worried about writing the show. We weren't worried about the improvisation. We weren't worried about the comedy. We weren't worried about getting our friends to do it. We were most excited about figuring out how to kill people, and not just how to kill them, but how to pull it off.
Oh, you're grabbing my head! You're grabbing my head! Oh, fuck! Ah! Ripping my head up!
My favorite kill was always the mute nun. The nun backing up against that wall, and you hear the sound of that drill, and watch her head shake and watch the blood come out of her mouth. And then the best part, though, is when she drops down and you see the drill bit pull back out away from the wall with the hole in it. Like, to me, that was just absolute brilliance. That it worked every time, and it was so creepy, and it really, really, really felt real. It was not funny. It was just amazing.
What's a kill? Oh, the kill. Oh, I thought it was a comedy term. But my favorite kill, well, I quite like my own because Joe Bill and I worked on a thing where he sort of flopped me over his arm and dragged me off of stage, and so my hands like dragged through all of the guts and blood and stuff like that, which was kind of fun to do because it was fun to hear people go, oh, and I remember that Mick worked with some guy with all the hoses and the blood and the blah blah, so there were rigs that were, you know, necessary in certain situations, especially the guy who gets his dick cut off.
My name is Dave McNerland. The funny thing is, as much as I can play sports and have fun doing those kind of stuff, I'm really not a jock. But I had no problem adopting to that. I loved it. I had a great time doing it. Just putting up a show from improvising it and putting pieces together. And I think it came down to the dialogue, because at the time, the jock was pretty much the kind of guy who was always thinking with his dick. My comment back to him was basically, hey, just not my dick.
Not my dick! No!
And that's exactly what he did, was he cut off my dick.
There was an intermission sideshow of meat puppets, and I was a meat puppet puppeteer, and I think that's where I did my best work. Hand up the butt of a raw chicken, and I'm not sure what the what was going on. I think they were dancing. I'm not really sure. There was a fun song, and that was my best performance, I think.
And look at him, he's raving mad because Chaz just had anal lingus with his wife. And here they are, they're fighting, and look, they're fucking in a twist. These two are fucking right now. And actually, Frank is doing very well considering the size of Chaz's bulge.
Oh my God! Damn, that is hot sex. That is what I call certified USDA. Uncircumcised dick in the ass. God.
You know, I was always in awe of how funny and creative everybody was. And I was just basically a witness to all this really creative, irreverent energy going on. It was just raw and funny.
I was a serious actress, so I didn't do things like improv and comedy and all of that. But they roped me in somehow, and I didn't know what I was doing, really. I hadn't taken any improv or anything like that. And so one of the things that happened was that I just walked in a room and started talking and didn't know that I had to stop and let somebody else talk. And so that became part of the character, was that Ingeborg Schnee can't stop talking. She just goes on and on and on and on. But truly, it was because I had absolutely no idea how to improvise.
Thank you. You know what? It actually is pretty tiresome being a white woman educating people on culture.
Brett Paisel and her talking. Nobody can ramble on like she did. And then when Joe Bill reached around and just like did this sleight of hand thing, and suddenly this tongue that just kept going on was ripped out of her mouth, and he flailed it around and threw it on the ground, and it popped open with blood splattering all over. And I don't know if it was at that time or a different time, when Kahlua, the dog, Mick's dog, came in and ate the raw tongue. Come on now. Come on.
Can I have you some cheesy fries?
No thanks, I'm a slut.
My name is Lynn Pustai. I don't remember the year, 87, 8, something like that. And what was the other? And the bimbo. Yes. The slut. It's my family. Mick and Jen are my family. Everyone who went to IU is still my family. So it was just our first really fun, like big show that kind of put things on the map in terms of tone. And there was something that was so much in the spirit of splatter that really put it on the map as like, this is the fun group of maniacs. I think that it really bodes well to talk about like passing down generational knowledge, because like when it all got started and all of that stuff was getting put together, that's history. And I think we all like build on our history so that we can just like keep, excelling. And
I've seen such artistry. And again, I'm very killer centric, and I watch sort of secondarily how people that are getting murdered are selling the death, and then how the accumulation of these deaths then dictate a specific style or take on the genre of that night. And my hope was that as new people came in, their voice would be heard and they would be able to sort of redefine what Annoyance, the theater itself, would be. And I think Mick and Jennifer have done a great job in allowing that to happen. And I don't think people are trying to recreate what we did. I think people are inspired by what we did and are just doing a new take on it and adding to it.
I'm Hales Reeves, and I'm directing this year's Splatter. First time I saw it, I think it was 2018 or 2019. I had just started interning here, and I remember it was really, really full. I had to stand by the door, and I was standing next to the director that year, Charlie Carroll. And I just remember seeing the intestines being pulled up, and when it hits the wall, I was like sincerely shocked and taken back by it. And I've never really experienced that feeling before with watching theater. Like, obviously I've been surprised, but just not to that degree. So I got to see an old blender from a Village Discount thrift store, and with some tools I took the engine out, put it on a table with a hole, fed a sub pump through, and it was just so fun to just like start from scratch in that way, and try to think of like what could create the most amount of blood. And visually picturing blood pouring down on the wall is what really inspired the attic kill. And that was a similar situation of, feeding a sub pump in a bucket of blood and then putting it on the trim of the wall. I think my goal was just to get as much blood as possible.
Well, when I was creating it, I did imagine a lot of blood, like 12 or 15 deaths. And I did want the walls to be white at the beginning of the show and then blood red at the end. And I had read that Alfred Hitchcock used chocolate syrup in Psycho, so I decided to experiment with that, much to the chagrin of my two flight attendant roommates at the time, because for a month I was just testing blood out in our apartment. And I found that the chocolate syrup worked really well, it ran down your arm really well, looked like blood, and I just started adding different amounts of red food color until I got the right viscosity and the right color.
So Sam Locke, I think he might have created that title. I'm not positive, but that was around the time when that happened, and then it just stuck. Like, it makes sense to have somebody working on this and really being in charge of it.
I have been involved with splatter theater in some way, shape, or form since 2006. Often the Bloodmaster is at the theater hours before the show goes up, just mixing the blood, putting together the meat, putting together all the different effects, making sure everything's loaded and making sure everything goes off as best it can for live theater. So that is definitely one of the jobs that deserves the most praise, I think. I think it's in good hands the past 2 years, definitely.
Hi, pal.
Gang, squad.
Sorry to make everybody in the room kind of do a whip it really quickly, but that was kind of what that was.
Everybody had to see that.
No, you look really handsome. Yeah.
Gang.
Yeah.
Squad.
You're handsome and strong.
It really is just like the cast. I just put people in the show that I really wanted to work with, that really inspire me as a performer myself. So I trusting them that they're gonna really make the show what it is with their performance. I really wanted to kind of challenge the actors to really think about the archetypes they were playing and how they can play it to the fullest degree. And we made some discoveries early on in the process of improvising through these characters. And I always thought Lynn as the character deserved more.
The slut.
I really wanted to like acknowledge that or wink at that, because each year we have people see the show year after year. So we do the blocking the same, so it looks like you're gonna get killed the same way. And then we subvert the expectations by you saying like shower, right?
I have an idea! We should take a shower.
I feel like somebody had to go first. In the bigger arc of the story, it made sense it would be her, because he has to try to come rescue. You know, at least in that day and age, he had to be the jock and and it wasn't going to be the son, it wasn't going to be the dad or Ingrid Vaughn. Wait a second, what's Ingeborg Schnee, Brett Paisel. Yeah, I mean, when you really go through it, it makes complete sense.
Why are you so short?
We want to be surprised, and we want to be thrilled, and we want to be shocked, and we want to live vicariously through both the horror and the joys of being alive. And Splatter Theater does both of those things.
It's a holiday tradition, is what it is. And the Annoyance Theater has always honored the holiday traditions, and they kicked it off brilliantly in 1987, and people love it, and they keep coming back because people love traditions, especially when they involve gallons of stage blood. I would like to think that it's universal and it would be a hit anywhere, but it's so rooted in Chicago and the Chicago style of improv that the Annoyance and Mick invented, the irreverence and the fuck it, devil may care thing. I don't know if anybody else was doing it, and so maybe it is a Chicago thing, but I'm proud and honored to have been a part of it.
I try not to spend much time at all in the building watching rehearsals or anything. I love coming to the show and seeing like who's this year's each of the cast members, and it's always sort of lovely because like, okay, this is somebody who it's their first time, this is their intro to the Annoyance, or they've been here a little while and now they finally gotten to step into this classic show. So it's just sort of like new people in the family, and it's really wonderful to get to see.
It's painful, actually. It kind of is.
Bittersweet.
Yeah. We become friends with many young people that leave us in our lives, and that's fine because we know what that is, but it's just true. So we're around 24-year-olds all the time, and we get to know them, and we invite them over for Thanksgiving, and it's all great, and then they go leave. I don't know how many fucking parties I've been at, going to California parties where I get to hear about where they're going to live and hiking, and who gives a fuck.
It's almost like it's in the air, like it'll go for a little while where there's sort of the same group of people around, and then you just sort of get like, oh, it's in the air, and then like a whole slew of people leave, and you blink, and there's a whole new group of people there who are going to be with you for the next few years. I remember in college reading this short story called Marie, and it was about a teacher, and she's talking about her class and everything, and how every year it's different but the same, and the last line of it is, so this is how it goes, this is how they leave me.
I'm just so proud of the time that we put in and the friendships that we had, and the work that we did, and the legacy that we have. And I'm crying now, and I was crying when I saw it last year, because who else gets that? Who else gets that? I mean, whatever actor, playwright gets that. Who gets that experience? And we only have it because this guy had this idea, and it was a clear, clean idea. And then he put a bunch of people together and went, what do you want to do? I got nothing to lose.
I guess the thing that I remember so fondly about that time was just, we were so happy. We were just so happy to have any space to be able to do this. Was this delicious treat, and I hope that the casts now feel that way. It was just the most fun,